I know the SEC has been dominant this year, but I feel like we're going to see most of the SEC teams lose in the first round. That's my pick right now. Over under. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Over under 7 SEC teams advance.
Out of the first
Over.
round?
Yes,
Over.
Over.
I'm saying under. I think 6.
I have an entire. I'll say this. I have an entire SEC Final Four.
Squad up! Cinco Squad is in the house, and it's that time of year. The madness is beginning. Everybody's got their brackets in, and hey, I'm sure we'll start to have some teams fall really quickly here. So, who's going to be the first number 1 seed to fall? John.
It is going to be. It's a team that I think is going to have the toughest time because he's hurt, and that's Cooper Flag, and that's the Duke Blue Devils. I think they're going to be the number 1 team to fall. I think they have been beaten by teams that have been ultimately shaky all year. Obviously, they only have 4 losses, right? 3 or 4 losses, but they
4.
play. What's that?
I think 4.
I think 3. Yeah, 3 or 4, somewhere on there, right? But I don't like the fact that you're missing your best player potentially at full strength. He went down with that serious injury in the first round or second round of their first game of the ACC tournament. It just doesn't look good. And that team, like we always say, I mean, obviously they blew through the ACC, which isn't really a contestant, right? So I think they'll maybe get through the round of 32 okay, but I think they'll be the first team to fall as a 1 seed.
Mike, who you putting up?
Of course, it's Duke. No, I'd actually agree with what John said in the sense of like, even if Flag plays, he's not going to be 100%. There's going to be a lot of questions about that ankle. And we saw, and I say this because I'm realistic about UNC. We saw what happens when they don't have Flag down the stretch of a game to continue to help support them. They started playing, their defense started lacking, their offense started lacking, and UNC nearly beat them in the ACC tournament. If not actually for the lane violation on the free throw, they very well may have beat them because they would have at least tied it on that second free throw. So I think Duke has enough to be able to get through a few teams in their region, but I think there are teams in their region that can take them down.
So I'm going to go a little off board here. The trendy pick for everybody lately, I've been seeing a lot of picks are people picking Florida. I think Florida goes down first. I know a lot of people, like I've seen so many people picking them, but you know why? And it's kind of funny. We talk about championship pedigree. What I don't like is Hurley sometimes figures these things out. And I feel like Florida, because everybody's picking them, is going to get to that UConn matchup, and Hurley's going to dial something up and figure out a way to get the Huskies. You still have that thing where you say the heart of a champion, and sometimes you have that situation where you're like, oh, okay, this team's done. I remember seeing that with the Raptors in the NBA where they – like Kawhi had left, and they still had like Lowry and these guys, and they just were hard out because it was just something in them with championship DNA. Did they end up losing? Yes, but they were hard out. I think UConn's going to be a hard out, but I feel like I always get leery when everybody starts picking the same team. I keep seeing everybody online. I'm looking at all these polls. They're suddenly like, it's Florida, it's Florida, it's Florida. That makes me be like, I don't know. I wonder if they're going to read the tea leaves, especially when you get young folks like that. Sometimes they start to, like the old folks say, they smell themselves. They start feeling themselves a little too much, thinking, hey, I'm the shit. I got this. And then that's when a team like UConn comes in, smacks you in the mouth, and before you know it, you're in foul trouble and losing the game. So we just talked about who's going
to that point. To that point, that is the toughest second round, I think, matchup that we're going to see. I mean, even if UConn loses to Oklahoma, Oklahoma is still a tough matchup for Florida. They played Florida tough this year. It's still an SEC opponent, right? The SEC got 16 teams? No, 14.
14.
They're the best conference in basketball right now, and they are for a reason, right? Oklahoma had a tough schedule, but beat some really good teams this year. That could be a tough matchup. UConn could be a tough matchup. So looking at the bracket now, looking at Florida and how they've played very dominant basketball, but I hear you on that. Like where Hurley can figure this stuff out, and as much as he is annoying as hell, he's got 2 rings back to back. So you got to beat the champs in order to be the champs. So let's see.
Yeah, and it's not a shade to Florida. It's just that's a hell of a matchup. I think any of these 4 number ones, if that was their second round matchup, you look and you circle that and say, okay, this is not going to be an easy out.
No.
are we going to have 2 number ones that make the Final Four? Or is it going to be one of those weird years where it's shuffled up and we got an 8 seed and 2 7s and 1 1 in the Final Four? Mike.
Yeah, I have 2 number ones making it. The 2 number ones being Auburn and Florida. Actually, I do have Auburn
Okay.
and Florida making it out of that side of the bracket. There are going to be some tough matchups. I agree. Although I will say I have UConn going down in the first round. I think it's just the
Okay.
back-to-back titles. I think is just kind of worn on them. It's like we talk about it in pro sports as well, like just the championship kind of wear and tear on you. I think that's kind of worn on them a bit. But yeah, I have Auburn and Florida being the 2 number ones to make it.
So actually, to counter y'all, I do have 2, but I have Auburn and I have Duke actually going. It's kind of funny because y'all two both said not. What actually made me change my mind more on Duke was the fact that Flag was hurt and they still figured out how to keep winning. So a lot of people said that his ankle injury wasn't as bad as thought to be. Probably could have played for the tournament. But the fact that these guys actually had to play tough crunch time minutes and figure it out, to me, makes me feel more comfortable because let's say Flag gets in trouble and foul trouble in the second or third game. Well, these guys say, you know what, we've done without Cooper. We've seen years where I remember when Cunningham was in Cade Cunningham, when he was in the tourney, he got into foul trouble and it fucked up the entire thing because they didn't know how to operate without him.
Mm-hmm.
Duke has now been forced to operate without Flag. So when that game happens, when he either doesn't have it, maybe the ankle is bothering him, I think the other guys can figure it out. In Auburn, they've just been consistent all year. So, I mean, everybody jumped off the Auburn bandwagon and jumped on the Florida bandwagon, but let's not act like we didn't. We've seen this all year. Everybody rolled with Auburn all year until it was time to jump off Auburn. John, you got 2 people or 2 ones?
Yeah, I think it's actually going to be Florida and Houston. I like the way Houston plays. I like how that team operates. They've been right there the last 5 years, right? They've been a top team in the country the last 5 years. They know. Is it Sampson the coach still?
Yes.
No? Sampson, yeah. So he's got that championship DNA. Even though I'm gonna pull something out of Tony Romo, he doesn't have a championship. I'm gonna pull something out of Tony Romo's book of championship DNA. Josh Allen has. And what?
Yeah, Josh Allen.
Jim,
bro. I think he's got these guys rolling. Houston's a tough team. I watched them play Syracuse a few years ago, and they just absolutely destroyed them. And it's just not even close. And that's what they're doing to teams in the Big 12. And you can see how that team is just hungry. I also see Florida as a hungry team, even though I say they have a tough matchup. If they get through the first 2 rounds pretty scot-free, it's a pretty, I wouldn't say clean road, because nothing is ever clean in a one game elimination, especially when you get to Sweet 16 Elite 8. But that's good confidence when you can go beat the champ. If let's just say they play UConn in the second round and they beat them, it's going to be a tough matchup, and it's like, okay, we beat the champs. And there's always a little bit of confidence when you can beat the champs, even though it's not the same team. It's still some confidence, like, hey, we took them down, even if you are the better team. So I think that will boost some confidence. I think Auburn is a very athletic, strong team, can move the ball up the court, has good size in the paint, can really shoot the ball well. But I feel like they just have some flaws that can, really hurt them down the stretch. And I think you saw it in SEC play. I think they'll probably be eliminated in the Sweet 16. But yeah, Duke, like I said, had them out in the first rounds, or no, at some point. So, but go Bulls! I'm joking.
and Bolt.
Oh wow, yeah. There's been a lot of it's been a lot of Duke talk here. So we got to take the other side of this. We got to talk a bit of North Carolina. Mike, big thing this week has been, should North Carolina even had a chance to be in a play-in game? You state your case. Why does North Carolina deserve to be in this tournament?
Because they're North Carolina. No, I think it's because they did have a down year, and I totally understand, especially if we're putting value into these quads that they say that it is, that their quad record, they're 1-12 versus team like West Virginia had 6 wins. I get that. I think they deserve to be in because they were playing much better ball. We talk about, you want teams that are playing their best ball going into the tournament. They were playing some of their best ball in the second half of conference play into the conference tournament. Like I said, they were a lane violation potentially away from beating Duke. So you got a guy like RJ Davis. You have the experience. You've got names that people know in the tournament that we've seen step up in the tournament. So I think this is a program that is built more for tournament success than it is for like a longer regular season success.
Yeah, and screw
John, I
that.
know you're not going
Oh, I'm sorry.
huh?
Go ahead.
No, if you had a North Carolina point.
Yeah, like, look at you, West Virginia Mountaineer fans. I love your song, West Virginia Mountain Mama, Take Me Home. But come
I
on,
need you to sing that better than that. If you're gonna do this, I need you to sing that better
no,
than that.
because I
Be
can't. Because
respectful
I'm
of West
so
Virginia.
I'm so disgusted by the governor of. I'm gonna put a lawsuit against the NCAA. Okay, if you can't be the, and Trey has mentioned this hundreds of times. If you cannot be the one of 68 best teams, then you don't deserve. And if you're on the bubble, that's on you. Win more. And I like what Jay Bill said. Win more games. You wouldn't have this problem if you won more games, if you competed better throughout the season. If you won games you probably should have won instead of losing those. You can't leave it into the committee's hands because at the end of the day, this is a money grab. And everyone, what do you want to see, North Carolina or West Virginia? Because look at the last time North Carolina got in the NCAA tournament. They went to the Final Four and almost won the national championship that year. So, yes, are we looking at it as, okay, yeah, did West Virginia deserve it? Yeah, but so did probably 10 other teams that were there. Maybe some big schools, Power 5 schools. There were some schools in there that probably deserved it. Like the school you were talking about, Mike. Did they get in last
Central
week?
Connecticut, they did not. In fact, I will say of the 4 teams we mentioned last week, teams that should get in, the only one that got VCU, and that's because they won the conference tournament.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. I mean, just look at that. Like 27, what they had, 27 wins, and they just they have to. I mean, realistically, they have to do your job in the regular season. Do not leave it up to the committee's hands. So the more you leave it up to their hands, the more you're just never going to get in. So West Virginia did not deserve it. They will never deserve it. North Carolina was going to be a bigger brand. It's going to be a better money grab for them. There's going to be more tickets sold for them. That's just the case. Because they were probably going to put West Virginia in the freaking western region. So.
Yeah, I'm sure they were going to send them.
Mike, excluding your Carolina Tar Heels, you're not allowed to pick them.
Okay.
Give me a couple teams that we should be on the lookout that are double-digit seeds that we should be looking out for this year.
Well, so the main one that I've keyed in on when I was kind of going over the bracket was Yale. That team, as typically Yale or any really Ivy League champion every year in the tournament, they know how to score and they're very underrated. They play with a chip on their shoulder because they're the smart kids. You know what I mean? Every year when the Ivy League champion gets in there, they always talk about, oh, are the smart kids actually going to win a game this year? And I think this Yale team is primed to upset at least one team, if not multiple teams. Other than that, I mean, Drake is a quietly good team. VCU, I agreed with what John said last week. VCU is always a team that kind of shows up for the tournament. So those are 3 that kind of stand out to me as far as like teams that could sneakily get by somebody.
Sneak.
Opening up.
Okay, so
I'm gonna sneakily go by them. Just that.
So I like
sneak.
I like Grand Canyon from last
year.
Yeah.
Duke's not a double-digit seed.
He said who?
I said who?
Oh, Grand Canyon. I just said I don't like Duke.
Duke is not at once. Duke is 11th seed. I forgot.
Yeah, they forgot to put a 1 there.
So Grand Canyon, they're 13th seed. Last year they beat St. Mary's, and they almost beat Bam in the tourney. If y'all remember from last year, they brought back a good chunk of that team. So now you bring back, they have experience, they've been there, and I think they'll play confident. That's a team for me to look out for. Interesting story. Also, I found was High Point University. They're 13th seed. It's their first tourney, and they won their last 14 games coming into this. So they're coming in on a hot streak. It's not even that I'm saying that High Point is going to be the greatest story ever, but we always seem to have these wonderful stories where it's like, oh, these kids have never made a tournament, and look, they've actually found a way to actually upset a team. So I feel like that would be almost like that Hollywood script if they can do it. One other team I looked at, Colorado State. They're a 12 seed, but again, they're coming in hot. They won 10 in a row. I always like to see who's playing their best ball going to the tourney. When you win 10 in a row going to there, that means you feel yourself in a good way. That means you're confident, everything's clicking, and I like any team when I see them coming on a win streak.
Yeah.
John, who you got?
Yeah, so I mean, a few teams off the bat is going to be North Carolina. I mean, Hubert Davis has been here before. You know, they're in the playing game. They got started. They looked good last night. I mean, they were dominating San Diego State. And poor San Diego State, I feel like they always get like an ACC team, and that ACC team that's like, okay, yeah, they can dominate them. But on a side note, hasn't it been like Xavier in Texas in the? In the
I swear, yeah.
I swear it's been like that for like 7 years straight.
Yeah.
Like I saw that, I was like, again? Like, come on! Like, if I'm Xavier, I'm like, God damn it, bro! Like, can I get another?
Why these guys?
Can I play Lipscomb or whatever the McNeese State or
somebody else?
Somebody else. Like, why are we always playing Texas? Like, man, I always look at that. I'm like, all right, well, here we go again, round 5. But North Carolina looks good. I mean, like Mike said, they're playing good basketball down the stretch. You know, they're a lane violation away from beating Duke potentially. Who knows what happens? But you know, I just see that North Carolina just being that team this year that they were when they won the national championship, where it's like you count them out, and that's okay because they can just go in, they get hot, they have a guy get hot. I know Mike's loving all this North Carolina talk, and it's just making me puke a little bit. But that's one team. The other one is Grandpa Jay's former coach, John Calipari. I mean, Arkansas being a 10 seed, they're sneakily good, as Mike would say. They look. I mean, John Calipari's been here, right? And I always talk about if you've been in this position and you know how to coach in this position, this is where like the true coaches come out. And I've said that I think he's an overrated coach, which is true. But I still think if you've been in this position, you come in a little bit more calm than like maybe a brand new coach at Arkansas, and you're running on high nerves where you can calm your guys down. Plus, he has a lot of transfers from Kentucky last year that have been here before. He has a lot of guys that have done this. You know, they lost by 3 to Ole Miss in the SEC tournament. You know, they beat Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a shockingly good team this year. And I just see that Arkansas team. The other team is going to be VCU. I think VCU, watching them play in the A10 tournament, played Bonaventure. They won the A10 tournament, I think, right?
Yes, they did. They beat George Mason.
Yeah, so, I mean, they just look like a strong team. They look like one of those VCU teams that can just go to their Sweet 16, maybe lose in the Sweet 16, but I think they're one of the teams that can really play really dominant basketball and really play physical. You don't see a team like that a lot in college basketball anymore because everyone wants to shoot, but they can shoot, but they can also play physical game for you and really get into your head. And really, some of these teams, I think the road to Sweet 16 is pretty open if they want it to be. So I think those 3 teams, Arkansas, North Carolina, and VCU, I'm taking.
I mean, it's some interesting picks there. So, I mean, if any of these things do start to play out, and naturally, something we said is going to hit. I know, like, we just named a lot of different teams.
It's too close in college basketball nowadays. Like,
yeah.
And a lot of people don't give credit to these. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Trey, but, like, there's so much parity in college basketball nowadays. I know the SEC has been dominant this year, but I feel like we're going to see most of the SEC teams lose in the first round. That's my pick right now. I think, 14 got in, but this is like the Big East days where you saw, you know, that 11 teams or 12 teams get in, and then basically like 4 advance. And it's like, oh, shit, okay, so is this a good team? But it's also very tough because it's single elimination. If you play this in a series, maybe the best team does win it all. So I'm going to say over, under. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Over, under 7 SEC teams advance.
Out of the first round?
Yes.
Over.
I'm saying under. I think 6.
I have an entire. I'll say this. I have an entire SEC Final Four.
You'd love it.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, when you get damn near a quarter of the fucking field,
bro. What if none of them
to be the SEC?
I should have put money. Yo, fuck.
That's no SEC.
No. What if no SEC team advances?
That'd be wild. Like I said,
they're not playing each other in a matchup.
I don't think any of them can match up against each other until like the Sweet 16.
Okay, so they actually.
What if that would be wild if no SEC team, if it's like a A10 versus like Northeast Conference Final Four,
or some American fucking Memphis makes it.
Yeah, be a
So
most
terrible.
boring Final Four. Everyone would be like, no,
Exactly. That would be so terrible.
Trey
That's
would
but
like,
you know
I'm
what? You know what though? That's the one that Gonzaga can finally win.
Trey would catch up on his Gilmore Girls season.
I definitely would
So,
be catching up on some other TV if that ends up being the Final Four. If that happens, it'd be complete madness. I know I was talking to Mike earlier. He said he had something on his mind about how he came up with March Madness.
It's ingrained in us as college basketball fans, right? Just to call it March Madness. It's not even really the NCAA tournament anymore, so much as it's March Madness. But I think, because I never knew until I looked this up, where did the term March Madness come from? And actually, the term didn't originally get attributed to the NCAA tournament. So the original March Madness phrase, it was actually coined by Henry V. Porter, who is actually now a Basketball Hall of Fame member. And at the time, he was the executive secretary of the Illinois High School Association. He actually used March Madness to refer to the state basketball tournament in an essay he published in March of 1939. Later, in the 70s, Brent Musburger actually saw the phrase for a car dealership when he was a newspaper columnist and affiliate reporter in Chicago. And so he remembered that and he took to the phrase. And so eventually in the 80s, when he started calling the NCAA tournament, he's the one that started putting the phrase March Madness, which has now become a part of the lexicon of college basketball itself.
So our guy, good old Brent Musburger, is how we got March Madness. If I gave you a shot, John, and I said, hey, this person never called March Madness game, but I would love to see them call a March Madness game, who would you want to see do it?
Chris Berman.
I like that. That's good.
What would his catchphrase be?
Back.
Yeah, I think what's his catchphrase for March Madness?
To the midline, to the 3-point line, to the half line. Oh no, that's Chris Berman.
Mike Breen.
Chris Breen. Okay, no, Chris Berman.
I got it. No, I got it. It'd be from deep from three. That's what it would be. Yeah.
And then if someone's driving the lane, he's rumbling, stumbling, bumbling
into the lane. He got a dunk.
Oh, he would have loved. Imagine him calling NC State last year with DJ Burns.
DJ Burns. And the big fella into the green.
They call him the bowling ball.
Him and Chris. What's it? Him and Mike Breen would be
Mike Breen.
Like deep. Bang! Like that would be the most iconic duo right there to do it.
Rebound Burns back out to Marcel 3-point.
Bang!
Tie game.
The funny part, dude, I don't even know how much basketball Chris Berman be watching. I know he's a sports guy, but
he could. I feel like though he could just kind of.
I feel like he could pick it up, but like I don't know how much he's watching. Like he probably
how much does he watch?
Sports from October to August to like February, and then he's basically done with sports.
Yeah, they used to have him off after this time of year. Mike.
Yeah.
You're a broadcast guy. What broadcast would you want to see?
So Trey, I actually don't know how familiar you are with him, but I know John is. I would love, and it could still happen, but I would love to hear Doc Emmerich call March Madness.
Cool.
He is he's a big hockey announcer, and he used to be on NBC when NBC was the NHL's main thing. He is affectionately known amongst us hockey fans as the Falcon because of the way he screeched during. He's retired now, but he would screech whenever things got exciting. So imagining like a March Madness moment, like
I think he would get it's too slow for him. Hockey's a little bit
it 100% is
not going to be a college basketball where like I feel like he would just be like overdoing it and be like, oh shit, I went too far. Wait, he's across half court.
No, he would have to actively slow himself down a little bit to be able to call it, but I feel like the screech would be great.
Could you imagine if he did what he does for goals every basket?
Oh no, I would mute that.
That's how he does goals. Like he's like,
but that's fine because like 5 goals in a game. You're talking about
like 47.
No. Down low. Score!
Sorry, Doc passed out at halftime, so we need a new guy in.
But that
who you got, Trey?
Yeah, Trey, who you got?
Well, y'all both went way more up tempo. I think somebody that's way more low key and relaxed. He does call basketball. Well, he did call basketball. And I meant to shout this guy out when it happened, but my guy Hubie Brown retired, and Hubie Brown always did NBA. But the knowledge that man gave with basketball in general. Like, I would listen to Hubie Brown call NBA game, a college game, a backyard game, a game at the YMCA. Like, that dude, you're going to learn something when it comes out of it. And the way he just prepared every game, the X's and O's, I learned so much when I used to listen to Hubie Brown on the call. And that was one of my favorite announcers. So, I mean, shout out to him for retiring. I would have loved, like I said, anything with him calling basketball would have been dope. So that would have been a fun one. But I mean, you know, all the players, they had a good relationship with Hubie, and he would have a college basketball now. He would have built relationship with he would have built relationships with all the different coaches and whatnot. So it's been kind of cool. I just think Hubie at times, because you got guys like Brain and them, I think at times Hubie gets a bit underrated. You know, it's a damn shame. But shout out to Hubie for retiring. Underrated though. Every time we're gonna get a few underrated players to come out of March Madness. Mike, who's somebody that's underrated that you think America's gonna come to grow to love, or that we need to be talking about going to this tournament?
Trey, it's actually funny you brought up his team earlier when you were talking about those double-digit seeds that might be able to make some noise. Colorado State, and their leading scorer, Nick Clifford. So coming into the tournament, he's actually averaging 19 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 4.4 assists, shooting 50% from the field. But what really I think has interested me has been his increase in free throw percentage as well as the volume of free throws. He's getting to the line more. He's got a 95.5 rating per 100 possessions as a defender, and he's had 15 of his 34 games this year as double-doubles. So I think he's like this, I use the word again, sneakily. I think he's a sneakily good player that not a lot of people are paying attention to because it's Colorado State. They haven't gotten as much, attention as some of the major Power 5 programs. But I think he's a very good player. And what's kind of cool for me, and John knows that I love guys that kind of play for their homes, like have that little thing to them. He's from Colorado Springs. He actually started at Colorado and then transferred to Colorado State. So this is his 5th year. So he should be done, or at least what? Yeah, we went to the rival.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now he's helped lead that rival to the NCAA tournament. And I think he's the type of player that is going to be, now that he's on a more national stage on TV, he's going to be recognized as one of the better players in the tournament.
For me, I went with Chase Hunter from Clemson. I think and the reason why is because I love anybody with experience. He has pretty much as much experience as you can get because this is his 6th year. So he's one of the last guys who had that extra year from COVID. He's been in tourney before. This year he's averaging 17 points, shooting 47% from the field, 41% from the three-point line, and he's shooting 86% from the free throw line. I always like to highlight free throws because a lot of these games come down to who makes free throws in crunch time. When you get a guy who's shooting that type of percentage, you can trust him with the ball in his hands as a guard. You can get down the stretch and say, okay, this guy is going to make sure that we're in the right place. He's going to make sure everybody's getting their shots. And when he needs to, he can go get his own shots. So I think in this case, I would say, I would look at Chase as the underrated guy. What about you, John?
So I'm going to go coach-wise. And it's not an underrated coach ultimately because I didn't really see a player that is very underrated that I'm looking at. And what I'm looking at as a coach in Rick Pitino. He finally got his team back. He got Iona back to the tournament. Reached to the round of 32, I think, or Sweet 16.
I believe so.
St. John's been a team number 6 all year. Been someone that's been pretty dominant of a program all year and basically got back to their milestone. And Rick Pitino was one of those. I want to see how he can coach a team in the NCAA tournament that's of caliber of winning it all, right? So can he get this job done versus a team that shout out to Iona, they won their games, everything like that. So I mean, that's where I look at it as that's why I see it. Like Rick Pitino has a lot to prove, and in his first year at St. John's, I think he really get going.
Is he still really underrated? Is the question.
You know what's really underrated? Having a good, loving grandfather. Something feels missing when we don't have a good, loving grandfather on our show. It feels like that's an underrated member of the staffing unit. And the word is, Grandpa was a little bit late, but Grandpa is now in the building.
Woo!
He woke up from his nap.
What are you kids doing?
Making so much goddamn noise. You woke me up, you stupid idiots.
Oh.
There we go. Now we got the
Yeah.
screen going.
Now we have our screens going. Grandpa's in the building. Jay, what we're talking about right now, who's underrated that we need to be looking out for in this NCAA tournament?
They have a lot of great players that have transferred, and they're all over the map now. But I'm riding the Yale Bulldogs wagon here. There's a Scottie Pippen type player. We'll call him the Swiss Army knife of that team. His name is Bez Mbeng. Beautiful name. Love saying it. You'll hear it all tournament long as Yale's going to last. In fact, I have Yale upsetting Auburn. So you'll hear his name a lot because he's going to contain brooms when he gets his chance. Big man. Listen to these numbers. Almost 14 points a game. 5.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2 steals. Tell me that's not a Swiss Army knife. He sets up their best scorer. The guy plays hard on both ends of the floor. You need somebody like that if you're going to take on the big names. And this team is coming in with a huge chip on their shoulder. They can score a ton of points. And this guy being that Swiss Army type of player is exactly what you need in the NCAA tournament. Just because it's not about scoring sometimes, it's about getting those possessions and making the other good teams come up with empty possessions. And I think he's that kind of player. So Bez Mbeng, ladies and gentlemen, look out for the guy. These Yale Bulldogs are coming into this tournament hungry.
Trey, I got one thing for Grandpa Jay. I wanted to hear this now that you're here. So, 1 seed. Because I know you love the Gators. You love the Auburn Tigers. You know, you're a big Gators fan, from what I hear. Come on, do it with it.
Get out of here. Yeah.
So, what number 1 seed's going down first?
Auburn.
I just want to hear you think Auburn is?
Auburn's going down.
I would say putting Auburn up to Yale.
Yeah, Auburn's, listen, anytime you tell me a team's coming in, stumbling into the tournament, you can't tell me that all of a sudden they're just going to find their form. I think people have figured out the formula with them. It's kind of like just let Brooms beat you and then contain everybody else. The guy's great, but he's not great enough to carry them throughout the whole tournament. I don't agree with the comparison that he's 1B and Cooper Flagg's 1A. I don't think so at all. I think Flagg's a much more versatile player. Brooms has heart, and I believe that's what Pearl does better than any coach, is he brings the heart out in his players, and they play with a ton of intensity. But from what I've seen stumbling down the stretch here, they didn't look great in the SEC tournament. I'm not sure this team is ready to go on a streak and win 4 or 5 games in a row to make it to the Final Four. So I got Auburn out. I got the Yale Bulldogs beating them.
All right, fellas, we got to put it on wax so we can go back and say I told you so later. Go round table. Championship matchup and who you got winning the game. Mike.
Championship matchup is going to be the Florida Gators and the Tennessee Volunteers. I have the Tennessee Volunteers as your national champion.
Zeke Ziegler, big fan.
Mm-hmm.
John, who's your matchup?
Syracuse versus Syracuse. Syracuse wins it all.
Woo!
Oh, sure.
Syracuse
and
versus
then
St.
you stop playing a
Bonaventure.
video game in real life.
I'm terrible because I haven't filled the bracket out yet, and I got to figure out which side is which. But my matchup is going to be the Auburn Tigers versus, doing this live on the show.
Woo.
Auburn Tigers versus
He's taking
the Kentucky Wildcats.
What?
I really mean that.
That's wild. So we have 2 all SEC finals. Trey, please tell me you don't have an all SEC final.
I didn't say my winner yet. You didn't? Why?
Yeah,
No,
didn't
you
you?
have an all SEC final.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
but you got to
Auburn
pick
is
a
winning.
winner.
Auburn, Kentucky, and the winner is we're finally gonna have another champion in this group, and that's
Motherfucker.
gonna be the Kentucky Wildcats. winning.
Why am I the only one that can't win something?
You don't even do that to make me happy. You just did that to fuck
No,
up.
important. You asked me.
No, I said that earlier in the year.
They're not
I
healthy,
said-
bro.
Jay,
That's not
how far
healthy?
do you have Kentucky actually going?
I
not healthy.
literally said that. Like I said that earlier in the year, like 4 or 5 shows ago. I said Kentucky is an underrated team that I think can make a deep run in the tournament and can do some damage in the tournament. I said that like 4 shows ago too. So I'm gonna stick with my pick.
Here's a fact check for you. Mark Pope hasn't won a game in the NCAA tournament yet because BYU hasn't won a game in like 11 or 12 years. The guy's looking to just win a game. They might win a game or 2. I love my Cats, but it ain't happening this year. But I love your enthusiasm for them. I'm going to ride your enthusiasm through the tournament.
Shit.
Well, who you
So
got?
when they
Jay?
win, you have to be angry. I'll be happy.
Yeah, I know. Come on, man. I'll be
All right, go
like
ahead.
not about it. All right, so my final four, I got Michigan State going up against them Gators. On the other side, as long as Flag is in this and he's 85% healthy, I hate it. I hate it because I want to put Bama over Duke, but I got Duke playing Houston. Houston has the missing formula. They finally have legit three-point shooting. So I got Houston playing the Gators. And just because I want my nephews to see it happen in their lifetime, I picked the Gators to win the national championship.
That makes me feel so old. You said in a lifetime. And then I just reminded, I guess Al Horford and were so long ago because all those guys except for Horford out the NBA because of age. It's like, damn, I can't believe it's been that long now. For me, I'm going to go with Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers, and they're going to play Mr. Cooper Flag and Duke Blue Devils in the championship. Who's going to win? In the NBA, we look to capture a flag. What's going to happen is Mr. Flag is going to capture a ring. So Duke will be defeating the Auburn Tigers in the championship, and it's going to make for another disappointing year for Mike as he's watched the Yankees lose, he has watched Notre Dame lose, and then he's going to watch Duke win a championship. Sorry, Mike.
Trey, why do you hate me?
I
What did I do to
thought
you?
Trey
I
was
don't
having
understand.
a stroke there. He's like, we're gonna have Auburn and Duke in the final, and then the NBA champion is gonna be the Lakers. I'm like, what?
Wait a minute.
Totally a fucking script right there.
The Lakers will be playing the Cavs in the NBA championship, but we'll talk about that later.
You gotta do the shit in chirp though. Lakers in 5.
NATO, Play-Doh,
Popeye
mashed
fries,
potato.
chicken fries.
It's Lakers in 3.
Lakers in 5. They had like a whole compilation of that. The Shannon Sharp, like,
oh, I've seen him everywhere.
Lakers in 5.
Chris Paul, Cliff Paul, Jake Paul, Logan Paul. Bring them all. Lakers in 5.
Gotta get a lady some love real quick. We haven't really gave ladies any love. Jay, this one's for you. Lady Gamecocks or the field?
This one's tough, guys. I mean, I didn't like what they did in this bracket because I find that when you have UCLA and USC as two dominant West Coast teams, you shouldn't pit them in the same side of the bracket. They've done that to allow South Carolina to have almost, I shouldn't say a foot in the door to the finals here, but it is going to be USC or UCLA on the other side that's going to end up probably matching up with South Carolina. But there's a team in the Birmingham bracket sitting at number 3. All of a sudden, a lot of people don't believe in them. I believe in them all year. Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Love that team. I think if that team can squeeze their way through the bracket, look, they have a long way to go. They got Haley Van Lith, who is at Louisville, who's a tournament dog. All right, she's playing for TCU now. They're in that bracket with Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to have to get out of the Elite 8 to even have a chance. They got to beat them to get to the Final Four. It's going to be a really hard game because this girl's a friggin' baller. But if Notre Dame gets through and they do gain back their confidence, I'm telling you, these girls are dynamic. And Mikey, tell me about your star girl down in Notre Dame. You know who I'm talking about.
What? Hidalgo or Citron?
Citron. That's your girl, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're talking about Swiss Army knives. I feel like she's the underrated Swiss Army knife of this team. I mean, kind of eyes always seem to be on Hidalgo, but Citron is, I mean, Jay and I were looking the other night at like a WNBA mock draft just randomly. All of a sudden, Citron's pushed her way all the way into a top 3 pick. Like, that's how well she's playing this year. So, I mean, if they can ride that momentum along with Hidalgo, they could do it.
I think it's too much. So that's why I'm taking the field. You got to get through Notre Dame. If you get through them, you got to get through Lauren Betts or Juju. And that's going to be in the finals. I don't know if they can take out that kind of firepower this year because they're relying on Joyce Edwards, true freshman. She's done her thing this year. But I don't know if we can say that a true freshman can carry you through the tournament. I know it's not smart to bet against Dawn Staley and these Gamecocks because these women know one thing only, and that is how to win in the tournament. But I'm taking the field this year. Star power is everywhere else in that bracket.
Got to keep showing the ladies some love. Last year we had all the success of Caitlin Clark. That helped boost the WNBA. More recently, we have the PWHL, which is your Pro Women's Hockey League. And something I'm kind of wondering is how can the success of the PWHL catapult other women's leagues? What do you feel? You're the hockey guy, John. In your opinion, how can the success of that league catapult other women's leagues?
Yeah, I mean, like, look at that league. I mean, it started off kind of like, okay, let's see how it's going, right? And they started off in really good hockey cities, you know, then Minnesota, Boston, New York, Toronto, and what are the other ones, Mike?
I think isn't there a team in Detroit?
Buffalo.
Buffalo. Oh, the Buttes. The
Buffalo.
Buttes are
Buffalo.
yeah.
So, you know, now they have names associated with their team. They really built up a fan base. Women's hockey is really popular up north. I think they put it in a great location. How they can catapult other sports is just showing kind of the recipe. Start a sport in a town that's going to yield those sports, like how like Omaha dominates in volleyball, like how Oklahoma dominates in softball. Like you have to enhance those cities. Yeah, it'd be great to go to LA and you know these bigger cities. Yeah, but it's going to also be very hard because a lot of traffic, a lot of people like, all right, why am I going to drive 2 hours to a hockey game I don't care about, right? And it's just the truth of the matter, right? But you know, growing up, I used to go to watch women's hockey all the time, and we used to. I remember one time we played the 18 and under. Our midget team played the 18 and under Syracuse Stars team. They're like a travel team. They're really good. They're number 2 team in the nation, and they smoked us like 30-2. Smoked us. No hitting, obviously. So it's all finesse. There's no hitting in women's hockey. There's a little like checking and whatnot, but how they can catapult is just kind of doing that. I think just putting your sports in, like for softball. So professional softball is a thing, but it's not as big. And I think if they want to make it a thing, they can, because people love baseball. And if they love baseball, they're going to love softball. But they got to put it in markets that are going to have success, right? So I think that's the biggest thing is having an ideal city where you want to put it and having already that fan base there. So if you're a big baseball fan or you're a big softball fan of Oklahoma Sooners, you're going to see that.
Jay, this is gonna sting a bit. I know you're gonna hate when I ask you this. The Seattle, what's up?
Jay, what's up with your screen?
I don't know why. What's happening?
Shaking.
You're rocking.
You're giving me motion sickness.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going over.
Yeah, my foot was tapping and it's shaking the desk.
Is your door open too?
No, my door's closed.
Okay. All right, go
Trey,
ahead.
take it away. What am I not gonna like here? Where are we taking me right now?
Okay, so Jay, you're not gonna like this, but in the NBA, we once had the Oklahoma City or the Seattle Supersonics moved to Oklahoma. Now, when they got to Oklahoma, it got really successful. I know you hate to hear it because that was the only show in town. Would the PWHL, would they be smart to try to target like smaller cities like that maybe don't have other sports leagues?
I feel like John hit it on the head. I don't think you just target random smaller cities. I think what you do is, yes, you can't compete in huge markets because you're going to be 5th, 6th, 7th fiddle, and you just don't want to do that because the fans can't afford to just go to whatever games, right? So you want to be in a town that embraces the sport, and that's what they did. That's really smart. I mean, the whole goal is if you're going to start any sort of league, you have to make sure that the places, that you're going to have your teams in will have fans that embrace it immediately. Now, take swimming, for instance, right? They finally decided to bring the World Cup events over to America. They chose Carmel, Indiana. Why the hell are you going to Carmel, Indiana? The culture in Carmel is incredible. Indiana high school swimming is as big as it gets. It's one of the biggest high school meets, if not the biggest one in the whole country. So common sense would say if they embrace swimming so much, why not bring a World Cup event there? Because the fans love the sport already. So whatever we're talking about here in terms of starting a women's league or sports or whatever it is, first formula is do your research and make sure the fans love the sport itself. And then that's how you can identify where you're going to place these teams in these cities very strategically. Once you do that, you have a chance of success because the fans have already told you yes. And the culture should tell you that based on whether they attend the high school games or whether there's a huge college following of that particular sport. Then you already have the interest of the fans. And so you don't have to fight for them to come out there. They're probably going to embrace it and be like, yes, we have a pro team now. Definitely supporting these ladies.
Mike, what's your idea for it?
I think it's along the same lines as like you have to lean into where your sport is popular. You have to like Jay and John said, you have to embrace that culture. You have to be able to obviously put fans in the stands. But what that can do for you is if other cities see success And we've seen this in other leagues, men's and women's, where if other cities see success amongst the league, amongst the teams, they may have an interest and say, no, I want that.
Mhm.
So then you get an opportunity to break into, when you expand, new markets, and you can corner those markets. And I think when you're cornering those new markets, that is when you try to employ the goal of not being fifth, sixth fiddle. That's when you try to take over particular, even if you can't, even if it's going to a big city, you try to get yourself positioned into a different part of it
Mhm.
where the drive, yeah, these people that are going to, this pro sports team over on this side might not come, but we're going to get the people that maybe don't want to drive that far. So we'll offer pro sports to those people that, damn, with traffic, it's over an hour to try to get down to the arena. Oh, wait, we can just go to that game, get our pro sports fixed.
Yeah.
And maybe if we get in from the ground up, then, we'll be able to afford, reasonably priced season tickets and, the merchandise might not be so bad. And then all of a sudden we have a team that we identify with because we were there when they started.
I think the biggest thing too is not to expand too fast, right? The PWHL
Correct.
is already
Yes.
expanding to one team, but I think they're going to Toronto. Is the next team actually? So that's the next city.
And that's a no-brainer.
And it's a no-brainer, right? It's a hockey city. I mean, they don't expand too fast because you see all these teams that start off with 6 or 7 and they try to go to like 10 or 12, and it's like, okay, well now you just added 6 more markets, a lot more pressure, and then the markets you go to are just way too big or way too out of the way, and you're trying to be more secluded, but you're not getting that fan base. And I think it's really just strategy and just thinking where you're going to be and everything. Trade what you got?
Well, what this keeps making me think of more than anything is keep talking about markets. The other week, and I know it's a hard topic switch, but the other week we were talking NBA and we were talking about Oklahoma City, we were talking about SGA, we were talking about Jokic. And Jay, I know you're always, this is Cinco Squad. We always talk about top 5. Who's your top 5 right now in the NBA?
I'm going to put it this way to you. We already said SJ and Jokic are running away,
Yep.
and these two guys are just incredible at this moment, right? So we're prisoners of the moment right now, right? Here's the hardest thing. If Ant Edwards is in the top 5, who are you leaving out? Luka, Giannis, or Tatum?
This is your top 5, ain't ours. You tell us.
I know, but that's why for me, it's like, I'm coming to this
Who are the 5
conclusion
again?
where, like, I don't even know if I could leave one of those guys out to say Ant belongs in the top 5 right now.
Somebody
Based
got to
on
go.
what those guys are doing for their teams in terms of how I feel, all 3 of those guys can at least get their teams to conference finals. And here's the thing. Ant already did it last year, right? So am I already forgetting what he's capable of doing? And am I being, a little bit of too much of a prisoner of the moment? I'll tell you what. You know what? People are probably going to freaking chastise me for this if they're Bucks fans. I'm going to leave Giannis out. What Luka's done already with the Lakers, I feel like he could do a lot more than people expected. All that bullshit talk about him not being in shape, forget that crap. So Luka's my 3. My 4, definitely have to stick with Tatum. Okay, championship caliber player. He already raised banner in Boston. Can't leave him out my top 5. And it seems like things are coming together in Minnesota now. I don't think to me, Bucks are out in the second round. The West is so wild. Ant and his crew can do anything if they get their act together. So I got Ant-Man. I'm going to leave Giannis out of my top 5.
Okay, so your 1 is Jokic.
Jokic, SGA, Luka, Tatum, Ant-Man.
Okay, so really quick, because we're talking about this, I guess Tatum only applies to this, but so much Jokic. Jokic is out for the discussion of this next question here. Okay, of Jamie's top 5, going around the table here, will these guys each win a championship or an NBA MVP? Jokic is out because he's done both. So number 2, right? So number 2, you said SGA. Mike, will SGA ever win a championship or MVP?
Yes, and yes. I think he wins both.
Yes. He gets both. John?
No. I think he'll always come second. I think he's unfortunately got that Melo factor, where Melo was so good in the time, but there was also players that in the time that were a little bit better than him, and did Melo deserve it at certain points? Yeah, I mean, you look at it, but it's also like, okay, who do you who do you leave out, right? Like, do you not give it to Kobe, or do you not give it to LeBron, or do you not give it to whoever had it that year? So it's like, so you look at those names. I don't think SGA will win a championship in OKC. But I just think he's one of those players where we'll see. It's like, damn, what it coulda, shoulda. It's like Chris Paul. Did we ever think that he wouldn't win a championship, especially with some of the teams he had? It's like shit. Some of those Clippers teams were like, okay, that team's gonna do it. Nope. Okay.
Clippers. It's the Clippers.
I get that, but you think of the team and they had depth, they had a roster of talented players, and it's like, fuck, how did they not win a championship? Then you look at the Suns, and they were right there. They were what, 2 games away from winning a championship and blew it. Like, so I feel that
Rockets.
he'll get that close, and then he won't make it. So no.
Jay, your boy SGA.
Yeah, Doug, lock deal. Yeah, we know he's getting it this year. I'm more over the fact because they don't want to give Jokic number 3 yet. The Joker deserves it probably, but SGA is leaning towards the guy. The team's going to be well. I can't say that because Cleveland might be the overall one. But if you run to the West, if you run to the West, MVP, he'll win both. I agree with Mikey, but MVP is happening right now.
He gets MVP. He won't get a championship. That's how it's going to go. Somehow they're going to fall short. I still, right now, for the Thunder, would love them to have a stronger number 2. Again, no shade to Jalen Williams, but I wish there was another guy that if SGA's off at night, he doesn't have it. And maybe they figure out a way in one of these off seasons to trade for that guy. But right now, I don't. I just feel like something's going to hiccup. So we'll see. But like I said, I think he'll get the MVP because that's my MVP pick this year. I don't think he's going to get a championship in his career. Your number 3 was what, Tatum?
Number 3 is Luka.
It was Luka. Okay, so Luka's not winning MVP or a championship. I will go first. You're absolutely goddamn right he's going to win a championship because I'm a goddamn Lakers fan. You're damn right. And he's going to win MVP because, goddamn it, I already thought he was going to win MVP several other years before this. I mean, the man's already had 70-point performances. The man's a walking triple-double. And now he's in one of the biggest markets that you can be in the world. And on top of that, he's in one of the biggest legacy franchises. So eventually, yeah, if they're close, he's going to get an MVP. When it comes to a championship in all reality, okay, whether he wins it this year or LeBron, if he doesn't, fine. It's LA. Trust and believe somebody else is going to come out there and play with him. He'll quickly get a second sidekick that's probably going to be a monster. So, yeah, he'll get it. And actually, I'll tell you later how it's going to happen. Mike.
Yeah, Luka's going to win an MVP. He will not win a championship. It just, for some reason, it feels like that's the career he's destined for to me. I just have this odd feeling that he's destined to, like you said with SGA, get this close, but not win.
John.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to win both. He's going to win a championship and MVP. They put him in a perfect position. He's in the biggest market. And personally, that's what he needed, right? Dallas is a big market, right? Don't get me wrong, but it's not a big basketball market. It's a big football market. It's a big, I wouldn't even say hockey. It's not a big hockey market either. And they could pack out the American Airlines, but I see Luka in a position now where the Lakers have now said, okay, we're past LeBron right now, right? Even though he's still there and he's still effective. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything about that. But we're past him, right? We're building for 5-10 years from now. The Lakers are now finally putting their thinking caps on, kind of like my GM, Howie Roseman. Go Birds. Doing what Rob Pelinka's doing. What
we weren't talking football today. You were the one before the show.
It's the first man that said football. We don't need to talk about football. All these freaking overpaid, freaking prima donnas. Of course, he brings football into the damn conversation.
All I said was go Birds. All I said was go Birds.
At least pay homage to a guy. Go Birds.
Gotta work. Gotta work the fact that they won the Super Bowl in.
And I wore an Eagles hat, baby.
Okay, so again, let's talk about Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith is the top receiver in football because we're just gonna go off the rails here.
All I said, he's doing what Howie Roseman's doing in the NFL. He's preparing himself for the future, which for the Lakers they need. They need to prepare themselves for the future because this was a great trade. It was a great move, And for the franchise, I think it catapults it. Who doesn't want to go play with a 25-year-old
25.
forward who's potentially top player ever to play the basketball, right? Eventually, maybe, right? Like, who doesn't want to go play with that type of player? And he's going to attract guys to that organization. Versus LeBron, LeBron kind of had his hand in the cookie jar. Like, I want this guy, I want that guy, I want this guy. Luka's kind of laid back. Like, hey, let's bring in whoever. So I think that's what you're going to see with the Lakers. And I know Trey's going to be happy about that because we're probably going to see 3, 4, potentially 5 championships from him just because it's the Lakers. If he plays till 41, I think 5 are in there. There's 5 potential.
Jay, do you think he gets any?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Lakers are about one thing. Don't let the Celtics one-up us. And right now they've one-up them, so they had to make that move. For them to win a championship, Luka has to have an MVP year. So I will say yes to both of those.
Mm-hmm.
And your 4 was what, Ant-Man?
4 was Tatum, 5 was Ant-Man.
5 was Tatum. Okay, so Tatum already has a championship. Will Tatum get an MVP, Mike?
Ant-Man, not Tatum. Oh, Tatum, you said MVP?
You said Tatum.
We're going around every player. Gotcha.
Yeah. Tatum, Mike.
As long as he plays on the same team as Jaylen Brown, no.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little too much shine that's going to be taken away by how good of a player Jaylen Brown is, and too many other good players that are going to be number 1 options for their team, a la SGA, Luka, Jokic. Maybe Giannis sneaks one again, and Cooper Flag, and guys that are that are currently in high school, currently in college, things like that. I just think he's going to be, I think he'll be top 3 in voting a lot, or top 5 in voting a lot, but I don't know if they'll ever give it to him.
Jay, your boy Tatum, he gonna get MVP at some point?
I agree with Mikey wholeheartedly. Unless they make an aggressive move to drive some people out of town, and he's the guy, that's who they give MVPs to the guy. So yes, they see him as the person that makes the engine go. But there's so much firepower on that team, and that team doesn't look like they want to get rid of that firepower. They look like they want to try and compete for championships for the next 4 or 5 years. So, and that's when his window closes, and he'll take the rings over the MVP any day.
I think for me, that's partly why because when we watch the NBA Finals and Jaylen Brown was the best player on the team, there's certain nights where Tatum isn't the best player on the team, and I think that's why he won't win an MVP, because that is the national perception. It's not just me saying this. We hear this all the time where it's like, oh, is this Jaylen Brown's team? Is it Tatum's team? Some nights it's Derek White who balls out. I just think that they'll keep reloading, even as maybe White gets older, Holiday comes off the books, and they'll bring somebody else in. And the more he always has all that help, the more people are going to be like, why am I giving this guy MVP when Wemby's over here carrying the team, or some of these other guys? We talk about Jokic, we talk about SGA, they're carrying the team, because he doesn't have to do that, and that's the nature of the team he's on. John?
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with all 3 of you. I mean, the guy averages 27, 8, and 7? That's fucking good.
Yeah,
we're not saying he's a bad player.
That's a lot.
So, I mean, when I look at you take Jason Tatum off that team, they don't win a championship. They don't get to that position. He balled out in all 3 of those rounds. Yeah, Jaylen Brown had a good ass conference finals, the finals. But I mean, Jason Tatum balled out in most of that playoff and most of the season to get them there. You take him off that team, they're not making the finals. So, like, I think that's not why I don't think he'll win an MVP, is because of Jaylen Brown or Derek White, because I think there's a lot of players you can say that with, when it came to like Chris Middleton, and with Giannis. I mean, obviously Giannis is a clear cut, but Chris Middleton
can't put those 2 near in the same category.
But
Jaylen Brown is like a top 20 player. Like, Chris Middleton's never been a top 20 player.
I mean, I'm just talking about his wingman, like, on the team. Like, I don't know. I just think I see Jason Tatum just being overlooked by all these other guys, like Luka, like Jokic, like SGA. Those guys I think are Edwards. I think is going to get his when he starts to get his hype and starts to learn how to control his game and get his shot back in fluid. And I just feel like he's going to be overlooked by those guys. I don't think it has anything to do with Jaylen Brown or any of the guys on the team, to be honest with you.
But you do think he's going to get MVP?
No, I said no.
Oh, you don't think?
No,
Just not
no,
the same reasoning.
I just don't think the same reason. I just think like he
You just
is a
don't just
baller.
think.
You take him off the team, they don't win nothing. Actually,
No, I don't think any of us say he wasn't a baller. But part of why you said that, and that's a great stat line, right? That stat line is nowhere near SGA because he has a second guy, so that's why he doesn't have to do it. So that's not a
Right.
shade to him. It's actually complimenting Jaylen Brown. I never shaded him. The
Mm.
thing is agreeing with what Mike said. The way for him to do is actually to separate because then his stats will go from 27 points to 32 points. You got people averaging 35 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. I mean, that's what Luka's demand has been and all these other guys.
Yeah.
He never is going to have to average 30 as long as he has Jalen. So that's why it's not shading Tatum. It's not saying he can't do that. It would be literally those two need to break up. So he has to go put up 33.
So let me ask you something. On that point. Like, do you think he'll get one just because I don't think Steph has ever averaged 30, right? When Clay was at his prime, when he won the MVP,
Yeah.
he won back to back.
If he didn't, he was then. Yeah, he did.
He did. Okay. I just wanted to know because I think that's more of a similarity.
But again, Clay
right?
isn't. Clay probably isn't. When you look at the whole Warriors thing with Clay, when Steph was getting MVPs, it was just him and Clay. Remember, this is closer to them having like a Durant situation where they're 3, they're 4, also people that can average 20. And that's what Steph not getting MVPs because it was just too much to spread the ball around. Wait, Jay, you're on mute or I couldn't hear you.
I say he won it the year before Durant came on board. So same thing. It's just too much around.
I just didn't know if you compared because at the time you were talking about Clay being one of the second best shooters in the league. Do you compare like those duo to this duo in that sense?
No, I don't. And the reason I don't in that case is because, again, as much as I always joke about, Jaylen Brown can't dribble. Well, shit, can Clay dribble? How many times have you heard the stat of, Clay's made
14 points and 3 dribbles?
8 dribbles. No, but Jaylen Brown, a bit can create his own shot. Jaylen Brown probably is a better defender than Clay was at the time. And I would say because we're talking offensively, where you win MVPs, Derek White, you would assume, let's say he's the third best player, or Porzingis are better offensive players than Draymond. So, again, they're going to take points always away from Tatum. Then you look at like Porzingis. He's going to take rebounds away from Tatum. Whereas Steph, the ball was always in his hand. Then he had the crazy record. Like, I think a lot of that it's going to be hard for him. I think John already alluded to his pick with Edwards. It sounds like you think Edwards is going to win MVP. Am I correct in that, John?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Edwards was Jamie's 5. Do you think Edwards is going to get an MVP and or championship?
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Russ. Like, Russ is like one of those guys that just had like one of those like 3 crazy years where he was like just crazy balling out. And I feel like we're going to see the like Timberwolves basically become the Oklahoma City Thunder in that sense. But I feel like Russ eventually bounces around teams. Russ is still a great player, don't get me wrong. But he bounced around a couple teams, tried to win some championships, and just never – did he get – he still doesn't have one, right?
No.
Russ, no.
No, right. So, I mean, I think he's just basically just in that boat. But, I don't see him winning a championship. Unfortunately, I would love to see it, but I don't because he's one of my favorite young players in the league right now.
Jay, what about you?
I think I'm intrigued by what you think of this because somehow I feel like you think the Lakers are going to lure him to the Lake Show and that's going to be the deal.
If that's the case, then yes.
I know that's where you're going with this right now. If that happens, it's over for every other team in the West, right? So I have a feeling that's where you're going this. I think John makes a great point that he can have one of those years where he just goes bonkers and win one with Minnesota. I don't know if we've ever seen an MVP get traded soon afterwards when they have that kind of year. And obviously, if he's on with Luka, it's not happening. So I'm going to say no to MVP because I think he's moving there before he gets that chance. But yes, the championships.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I think we talked earlier in the year about how maybe not Ant yet because we figured it would be a battle between Jokic and SGA this season for MVP, but that he'll eventually get it. I think he will eventually get it at least once. We talk about all those good players that, like your Wembys and them and Lukas and all that are going to take, and eventually SGA, if not this year, are going to take some opportunities away from him to win it. But I think he will get at least one in his career. I do think that Ant Edwards is going to win at least one championship. I will say, though, it's not in Minnesota. I think he's got to go somewhere else. I would frankly say he's got to go to a bigger market, like LA, like the Knicks, like a bigger basketball market in the sense of talent. Let's see what it looks like pairing him with Wemby, and maybe De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah,
that'd be nasty.
So
But
for
yeah.
me,
He's out for the year. Comes there,
Hmm?
now
go
he's
on
out for the year.
because so they're tanking to get this pick now.
Yeah.
For me, yeah, I back before Luka went to the Lakers, I actually said this on the show before the Lakers eventually get Luka. I just didn't think it would be at 25 that they would get Luka. I always envisioned that would be a move that they would try to go for once Brian retired because they were going to have the cap space and they were going to try to lure him in. So that was always what I thought was going to happen. I've also been said on the show before that I thought Anthony Edwards would show up on the Lakers because, again, now the way I look at it is eventually there's going to be the point. He doesn't win a championship out there in Minnesota. Actually, I think he's going to win MVP. I would say it's probably next year. But eventually you're going to get pissed off and say, okay, I got my MVP. Now I want to actually win. The other thing when I factor in is this is a guy who's already told you, I don't want to be the face of the league. Well, guess what? You know the way not to be the face of the league? Be the second best player on your team. Ain't too many ways to be the second best player on your team other than maybe teaming up with Luka or teaming up with Joker or one of these guys. So why not him go play with Luka? He gets to live in LA. This is a guy who would clearly love to be in LA. He gets to be a star, but he doesn't have to be the guy. He doesn't have to be the face of the league, as you said. So, yeah, I think Anna will win. I think he's going to show up on the Lakers about 2 to 3 seasons, and he will win a championship alongside Luka. The money's going to line up. I know some people are probably going to get in the comments, how do you think this is going to happen? Because eventually stars force their way out, LeBron will be off the books, and boom, you got the max contract slot right there. So that's how I think my guy Ant ends up finding his way to a championship. Speaking of championships, we're going to get a little bit closer to trying to crown a champion here. Some of us haven't won, but we'll fix that problem today. Time for everybody's favorite time of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ghouls and goblins, everything in between. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you got 3 points in this show, then you know it is our favorite time where we got to stump each other. Don't cheat. Play along with us. +2 if you get it right. -2 if you get it wrong. And I'm about to go on the street, gents. So good luck because you're going to need it. Trey, take it away.
Okay, let's give the ladies a little more love. In 2001, Tasha Pointer of Rutgers set the record for most assists in a women's NCAA tourney game. How many assists did she have? 18, 20, 22, 24.
22.
Sorry, I got Mike 22. Somebody else said something.
18.
John 18.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the other 2 options.
Oh, yeah, 18, 20, 22, 24.
Boy, it just sounds like the kind of question where it's exorbitant. So I'm going to take 24.
Okay, so Jay 24, John 18, and Mike 22.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so today I successfully stumped Grandpa Jay and Mike. That's 18.
22 was actually the number that popped in my head. So
Put
that's
the fist down and give us a question. John.
7.
Woo!
All right, well, I guess Mike wins.
Yeah.
All right. So the Big Ten has how many national titles in conference history? 20, 23, 25, or 30?
And what sport?
Oh, basketball.
Okay. Men's basketball we're talking?
Yeah.
All right, John, run that one more time.
How many? Let me just make sure. I'm just going to look at the question real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, men's basketball. How many Big Ten teams have won a national title in men's basketball? 20, 23, 25, or 30?
23.
Yeah, I was going to say 23.
Okay.
25.
I have successfully stumped Grandpa Jay.
Man.
It is 23.
I'm out.
Jesus, that nap didn't help you, Grandpa Jay.
Yeah, got a lag in today. So, you want me to go or you want Trey to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right,
Hi, I'm Trey.
Sorry.
Yeah, me.
Can you guys tell me when was the last year a West Coast team won the men's NCAA championship? Was it 95, 97, 2003, or 2009?
No, when we say West Coast, does that mean it actually has to be on the coast of the West?
No,
Or the
meaning
continent.
like it's on this side of the Mississippi River.
Okay, I need to clear.
When-
yeah.
So not a California team, but a team considered that they play
Okay,
on
that's what I said. Where's
on
the
an
road
West.
year?
in the West.
in the Western region.
Carolina, no.
So once
Well,
again,
that's
what year is the last time a West Coast school won the men's national championship? 95, 97, 2003, or 2009?
Well, technically,
95.
technically, no. I think they're all wrong. Baylor won the national title 4 years ago, and Kansas won.
Kansas is
Yeah,
Midwest.
Well,
said
that West is
title
Mississippi.
with Mississippi.
You
Yeah,
said Mississippi.
If you say
What's our
Mississippi,
definition of West here?
That's why I said West is very.
Texas is West.
Because West.
We-
All right.
We
All right, let's boil it
That
down.
keeps you reading,
All
boy.
right, let's boil it down. A Pac-12 team.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. 95, 97, 2003, 2009.
that narrows
Well,
it
I
down.
know it's not 2003.
Yeah.
I know that boils it down to
It's
that.
still my answer. My answer is still 95.
97 had to be.
Fuck. You know what? Fuck it.
Nine
It's
was
got
not-
7 in it. 97.
I'm saying 95.
Gentlemen, it was the Arizona Wildcats stopping the Kentucky Wildcats from a three-peat in 1997. UCLA was in 1995. All right, successfully stumped.
I knew
Train-
UCLA was. I knew UCLA was 1985. That's why I said that. I for sure
Yeah.
knew they.
Well, I at least knew one of your answers.
Wow. Yeah, when he said 2003, I'm like, no, Syracuse one.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say
Very
anything.
easy for me on that one.
I'm
Should've
trying to.
done
I
it.
was
When
trying
did
to. I was
Syracuse
trying to
win
get
the
straight.
national
So
Give John a chance here. You know, I need John's trying to get a point.
Well,
here.
no, because I knew I was looking at when Kentucky, because I knew Kentucky went to the national title, but I didn't know if it was 95 or 97. I knew they
96,
lost.
97, 98.
Yeah.
Lost in overtime to Arizona.
All right, so
One
scores
moment.
read Trey with -4, Mike with -2, Jamie with -4, and then me with 0. No,
Yeah, but I got one question right. I thought wouldn't it be -2 or no?
-2. Yeah.
Okay, so you're 0.
wait.
Mike and Trey are -2. I'm -4.
Wait, I think I screwed that up. Because you went first, Trey. So you have -2 lost, and then you're back down to 0. I'm at 2. I got your question wrong, so that means I got it. I'm at 0. I'm right.
You're at 0. Trey's at 0, and Mike's at
Zero.
I'm at
-2.
No,
or
you're at
0.
0. Because you were at -2 before.
they're right.
Gotcha.
They're tied at 0. I'm -2. You're -4.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if they both get it wrong and I get it right, we're tied again, 4-way tie.
4-way tie.
Ooh, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All
All
right.
right.
So, which of the following Ivy League schools holds the NCAA record for longest March Madness appearance drought?
Harvard.
Harvard,
No.
Princeton, Dartmouth, or Cornell?
Princeton.
Harvard,
Cornell.
Princeton, Dartmouth, or Cornell?
Harvard, Princeton, Dartmouth, Cornell.
No, Dartmouth. I'm sorry, Dartmouth.
You already said Princeton.
I can change my answer.
can
You can
change
say,
your answer.
you can
It's
say
not locked
final
in.
answers, Steve.
It's not locked in yet.
Steve. Yeah, I think
Survey says
we're-
the Rangers. You can't see it, but they're up there.
I'm
You
looking.
say Dartmouth. Trey, what'd you say?
Cornell.
God damn it. I know it's not Princeton or Harvard. It's Dartmouth.
Okay, so 2 Dartmouths and a Cornell.
Either way, it's no tie today. So
Yeah.
Right. You would think so, Trey. Except for when I stump the squad.
Oh, shit. It's Harvard?
It's Harvard.
No, it's
Wow.
Really?
Yes.
Damn it. Harvard.
Have it.
All
Yeah,
right.
you need to have
So -2.
So do I have to have a tiebreak happen here?
Yes,
Is
you
it a
do.
tiebreak?
Yeah.
Well,
So
me,
tiebreak.
tie, 3-way tie. So do closest.
All
Time
right.
between the three of
Let's
us.
do,
Give me a
let's do
second.
closest to the pin.
No, hold on.
But I'm just kind of sort of getting my swing down.
Hold on.
And you're one of the people
Hit
that try
the-
to do it. You
Hit
get
the
a hole in
perfect
one.
shot. Oh yeah.
Like,
Just because I should.
I've played
Remember
golf for
in
20
college
years.
when I was supposed to miss the basket on purpose? and I just kept hitting like 40-foot threes.
Mike missed. God damn it, Mike.
I'm trying. Well, then try in the game.
I'm trying, Grandpa.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Closest person to the total points scored in the UConn-Purdue national championship game last year.
152. No, 153.
147.
It's in the twos.
162.
Bastard.
And your winner
Trey.
this week is Mikey Mike. The answer
Let's
is
go!
135. UConn won 75-60. John, you had it backwards. You should have gone 135, not 153.
I know. I couldn't remember if they scored a high scoring game into the 80s or not. Or
It was really close, and then they just went on like a 14-0 run.
I remember UConn scoring a lot, but I couldn't remember the other.
Yeah.
And then Purdue came back just because they sat their starters. It wasn't really coming back. It was like hitting a bunch of shots.
No, that was a nail biter for me because I took them to cover by 14.5, and they had a free throw with like a couple seconds left that they had to make. I was like, oh, thank you. I was betting live on that game right through.
But there'll be a lot more nail biters coming up here. A lot more content, a lot more NCAA. We'll be back next week. We'll discuss some of everybody's brackets being broken. Probably all four of us, and probably mostly everybody out here who's watching this have a bracket broken by the time we come back next week. So definitely enjoy the hope while you have it, because it won't last for long, because that is what happens in March Madness. But make sure you definitely comment. Tell us we were right. Go ahead, tell us, oh, you were wrong. But when you tell us we were wrong about our picks about the bracket, make sure you also mention where you were wrong at too in the comments, folks. Definitely going to talk a little more the women's bracket. We'll talk a little more NBA. Hockey's heating up. Shout out to the women's hockey. Start to look a little more at that. And, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Cinco Squad Pod 05. As usual, Cinco Squad